if you run webinars or call funnels or any other marketing funnel that requires people to show up to something, then you'll know that the show up rate is one of the most important stats in the entire funnel. Because after all, if people don't show up to your thing, then they will never have the chance of buying. And as you will know, if you have a terrible show up rate and you can double it, you can double your sales. And historically, we've been able to average around 30% show up rates on cold traffic on webinars and 80 to 90% show up rates consistently on sales calls and call funnels. And just yesterday, we actually ran a webinar for a client and we had a 42% show up rate on cold traffic on a pretty decent amount of budget with 300 people showing up, give or take. And they were actually at a mastermind the day before or 2 days before that. And they were asked, how the hell do you get 35% show up rates in on cold traffic? And this was a webinar a mastermind with very, very high level people, 7-8 figure people. And he was like, I don't know, my webinar guys do it for me. And we are said webinar guys. So it inspired me to make this video so I can help you guys never have trouble with show up rates again, whether it is a call funnel that you run or a webinar funnel. So we'll go into the trusty iPad here and start going through it. So as you can see, how to get 40% show up rates on cold traffic. This is specifically for webinars. That being said, if you run a call funnel, this will also apply to you. And the benchmark will not be 40% for absolute show up rate excellence. It will be above 90%, okay? So here's the thing. First thing you need to understand is the importance of the show up rate. If people don't show up, they don't buy. And if we can double our show up rates on something like a webinar, usually on a sales call, you're not gonna be doubling your show up rates because I'd hope your show up rate isn't as low as 45%. If it is really chopped and therefore you really need this video. But if you can double your show up rate, you can double the amount of people who buy. And whenever you're looking through a funnel, what you want to understand is if your show up rate is even a bottleneck, is look through your funnel and look what needs to be doubled. Look at your KPIs. Your ads, is your click-through rate terrible? Is your show-up rate terrible? Is your conversion rate terrible? What is it? Close rate, whatever it is on the funnel that you're doing. If it is the problem, and for a webinar, I would say under 20% is bad. On a call funnel, it would be under really 70% is pretty bad. You're losing a lot of deals on the table. You need to work on this. You need to understand there are only a few key things that actually drive show-up rates. And so let's just get straight into it without any more fluff. So the first thing you need to understand about your show-up rates is that they're an incredibly important piece of the puzzle. They're almost as important as your conversion rate, because if people don't show up to the conversion event, whether it's a webinar or a call funnel, then they won't buy. You have no shot of even making the freaking sale. So you need to maximize your show-up rates because this will allow you to tolerate higher ad costs, especially these days where CPMs are rising every single month, every single year, and we've been having problems with meta advertising. Everyone has. You need to have dialed in show-up rates in order to maximize your chance of success. And so we need to go into first understand what is the benchmark that we're trying to achieve, because whenever you're making changes to specific KPI or specific metric, you need to know what the goal is that you're hitting. So with show-up rates, if you're running webinars, anything sub 20% is bad. It's shocking. Like sub 20%, well, it's not shocking, but you have a problem basically. 20 to 30% is okay. 30% plus is very good. On cold traffic, this is. On warm, you would expect higher, and all these strategies that I'm teaching you are going to apply to warm traffic as well as cold traffic, and it's going to apply to whether you're doing sales calls or webinars. But the thing you need to understand is, especially when you're doing cold, is you need to have much more diligence with this stuff because you have much less room for error, because these are people who just don't really know you or give a shit about you anyway. So you really need to work hard to get them to care. So this is the benchmark that we're aiming for on webinars. On sales calls, realistically speaking, you want above an 80%, preferably above a 90% if you can get it. That's very, very good. Sub 70%, we have a bit of a problem. It needs to be increased. So let's get into it then. So what are the actual strategies to increase your show-up rate? It comes down to a few different buckets. Some of them are automated, some of them are man-powered, some of them are paid ads. So number one, I'll say the most impactful one by far is your email sequences. So what most people do wrong when they run email sequences for anyone who signs up to a webinar or a call funnel is they just send reminders and they just say, hey, you got to show up to this, it's at this time, make sure you show up and make sure you get there on time. This is a really, really, really poor use of your email sequences. And if anything, what you're going to see is really bad open rates. So people are not going to even read them. And what you're going to find is it actually doesn't increase the show up rate that much. It might do something for sure. It's better than not having anything, but it's not going to be anything transformational. You're certainly not going to be getting 30 to 40% show up rates on your webinars with this. So here's what you need to do. You need to understand that you need to meet people where they are. These people don't care about you. They don't care about what you have to offer. They were interested because they may have seen an ad that you may have managed to make compelling, but it's definitely not enough to get them to actually take action on the thing, especially if they haven't bought anything. They've just signed up for a free call or a free webinar, especially not with a webinar, because with a webinar, there's less social expectation. If you book a call with someone, you should show up. With a webinar, it's a free event. Fuck it, I'm not going to make it this time. I have to go do something else. So you need to really make sure you meet them where they are, which is they don't care about you, and you need to make them care about you. So you need to constantly validate the decision between them signing up and them coming. And the easiest way to do that is, if they have signed up for something, we know they have a problem. So we need to give them value to help solve that problem. So the first thing is give them value. So these sequences need to be value dense. So we need to be reaching out to these people once or twice a day between the point of them taking the action and them showing up to the webinar. So, or sales call. So every time I say webinar, think also and sales call. Value dense. What that means is not surface level stuff, not just the webinars coming up, it needs to be properly value dense. Meet them with, dig into the pain point. Whatever it is that they have, tell them why it exists. Tell them how to overcome it. One of the strategies that you're going to be teaching. And at the end of every email, your goal is to get them to show up, to remind them. So the reminder lives inside of the value dense email, okay? It's at the end. Once you've given them basically some candy, you're like, you want more? You have to come to this thing. And here, realistically speaking, we're talking about a cadence of 1 to 2 emails a day. And then on the actual day of the webinar itself, you can add in some more reminder sequences. So reminders, realistically speaking, are either baked into the value dense emails, or they are on the day of the webinar where you're making sure that people are showing up, an hour before, 15 minutes before. You can really send them a lot on that day. Value dense, it has to be the core of it. And then you need to test, what are the open rates? Are your subject lines good enough? Are they compelling enough? Make your subject lines. Another thing that we have found that works really, really well is if people sign up to your ad, right? They click on your ad, they sign up to a webinar, they don't actually know your name. They may not even really remember anything about you or what you do. So you need to make sure that the subject line is compelling enough in the same way that the ad is. Don't just think that because they've signed up, the job is done. You need to keep them hooked in. So you need to care about your hooks on the emails to make sure that they open it from a name they probably don't recognize. Because if I just see your face on an ad and I click on it and I go to the landing page, at no point do I really see your name other than if you do a good job on the confirmation page or anything like that to introduce yourself. So I'm not going to remember you, whatever your name is. The subject line has to do the heavy lifting and the preview text. So again, whatever the outcome is, make the subject line compelling. Okay, so make it compelling around their pain point and their problem. So if you have I'll give you an example. If your webinar is about SEO, which is the client that we had yesterday, we ran a webinar for him. The first email, the subject line can't just be, who I am or my story. They don't know who the fuck you are. It needs to be about the thing. So how to rank higher on SEO. They care about SEO. They care about the topic that your webinar is about. So hammer that. Okay, so that's the next thing. And then as they open your emails more and more and more, by you giving them value, they're going to get into the habit of opening your emails more and more and more. Then you're going to understand that, okay, great, these people now know my name, I've built a relationship with them. And again, we're trying to shorten the cycle of them getting familiar with you by giving them more value, spending time with you, and giving them things that I'm actually going to interact with. And then at that point, they will remember your name, they'll see it, and every time you send them an email, they're going to be much more likely to open it. All right, so make subject line relevant to their pain or desire. Always do this. All right, so that's the email sequences, 1 to 2 emails per day. Value dense, you have to lead with value all the time. Reminders come at the end, and then make the subject line relevant to what it is they are signing up for. Second thing that makes, in my opinion, the biggest difference when running a webinar specifically, but it also applies to a call funnel, is a shortened promotion cycle. If someone signs up to a cold ad, as we've already said, their intent is actually very low, especially if it's a free webinar. The longer you give them between the ad to the webinar itself, the more chance you're giving them to forget about you or to lose interest in you or to even forget that they signed up to this thing. So the shorter your promo cycle is, theoretically, the better. For example, if we were to, in a hypothetical scenario, get everyone to sign up on the day itself or the day before, our show up rate would be very, very high. The downside of this, the problem with this, is that we can't profitably spend that much in one day, or at least reliably or predictably. So we have to extend it a little bit and find the balance. What we have found as the balance is a 5-day promo cycle. With a 5-day promo cycle, it's enough to keep people engaged with our other best practices for the show up rates to make sure that they're actually sticking through. Shorter than that, you're going to struggle to spend enough spend. You can always extend it a little bit more and be able to get more people through the funnel, which also will allow you to make more money as well, because show up rate is one metric, so it's okay to take a little bit of a hit on the show up rate. Shortened promo cycle, specifically 5 days on paid ads. If you're doing an organic one, you don't have as much control, so you need to do a lot more promoting. This, you can extend it to 7 to 10 days, really speaking, that's gonna be fine. And again, with organic, you have much more room for error because they don't really care, or they know about you, they care about you. Unlike with cold ads, they don't shit about you. So that's what I would say there. Shortened promo cycle. The third thing is your confirmation page. Again, most people get this wrong. Most people, what they do on the confirmation page is they make it just, you've signed up to the thing, it's just text, thank you for signing up, see you on the webinar, and just maybe a couple steps, maybe check your email, whatever it is they say on their page. This is the things we see usually. There's so much you can do on a confirmation page to increase your show up rate, and there's so little that we actually see people doing in the market. First thing, just to bomb you with this information, is an actual confirmation page video. This is not just a video where you say, hey, nice to meet you, thank you for signing up, show up. You need to actually have some finesse here and have some strategy behind it. This is your first video contact point since your ad. This is the time where they are the most highest level of intent. This is your chance to be able to nurture them and turn them into someone who likes you, knows you, trusts you, and actually wants to spend more time with you. Okay? Don't make them regret signing up. So how do you do that? First of all, obviously intro yourself with your name. Hey, it's Caleb. Hey, it's Gio. Hey, it's whatever. Confirm their decision for signing up. Don't just say thanks for signing up. Confirm it to them. So tell them, I'm so glad you signed up, and give them a reason for urgency. And now's the perfect time to do so because of XYZ that's happening in the market. Link what the decision that they made and validate it with a sense of urgency. So usually there'll be something. So for example, on the SEO one that we did, it's because AI is rapidly changing what SEO looks like. So you can lean on that. If you're going on let's say a financial advisory offer and you have that, then you can always make it about a tax code that's going to change or a bill that's going to pass or something like that. Find a level of urgency or a reason to give them urgency to actually show up to the webinar. So confirmation of their decision is one of the most important things you can do on this page. The next thing is make sure they take all necessary actions. Make sure all necessary actions are taken. What that means is actions are taken. What that means is there's a few things that they need to do to increase the likelihood that they show up. The first thing is that they reply to the confirmation email. The reason being is that your email deliverability is one of the most important things that's going to determine your likelihood of increasing your show up rate. In case you don't know what email deliverability is, it's basically every email kind of sending domain, which is your email, has a reputation, okay? It has think about it as a credit score. If that credit score is bad and the email services don't like your emails, don't like you maybe done a lot of spam stuff in the past, or you ended up in spam in people's inboxes, you're going to be sent to spam and people are not going to be seeing your emails because who the fuck is going to trust an email that landed in spam, right? So you need to make sure your email deliverability is great. One of the most important and effective ways to do that is to have a good track record and history of people replying to your emails. Because if people are replying to you, it shows the email service providers that you are someone to care about and you are a legitimate person. If everyone's ignoring you, then no one's going to spend time with you. A bit like high school. If you were the kid that no one spoke to, then no one's going to speak to you. So first thing is make them reply and give them a good reason to. Don't just say reply to the email because it's going to let me, market to you. Give them a solid reason. Tell them, reply, I'm ready to the email, because not only is it going to show the email gods that I am someone who's worth listening to and you're going to get emails from me and that you care about me and care about receiving emails from me, but I'll also give you some free resource. Give them something meaningful that they actually care about. I'll give you my 14 something checklist. I'll give you my whatever. That's genuinely going to help them in some tangible way in a really quick, short, digestible snippet. Again, we're trying to get them to say I'm ready or to reply to the email in some way. So it doesn't need to be that crazy, but it needs to be good enough for them to go ahead and take that 2-second action. And then also you can just say, and if you don't, then you won't get my emails and you won't show up and you won't get XYZ outcome that you want to get from the webinar. The next thing is make them add it to calendar, obviously. That's super quick. I don't need to spend more on that. Add to calendar. Add the invitation to calendar. And the final main thing that you can really do is a WhatsApp group. And in the video, you'll tell them to join the WhatsApp group. And what you can do with the WhatsApp group is you can either do a broadcast channel. I would rather you do a group, much higher deliverability. It's in the actual chats tab and everyone actually sees it and they get notifications. With a broadcast group, they actually need to turn notifications on to see it. But a WhatsApp group is going to greatly increase their show up rate because you can nurture them in different channels. So between time they sign up, again, they are now in your ecosystem, the better you just absolutely hound them, that you stay front of mind for them in that time period from the time they show up, time they sign up to the time they show up, the higher likelihood they're going to they're going to show up, right? Because you're on their mind constantly. So the WhatsApp group is another place where you can send them videos. It feels a lot more like texting, and again, just another channel that they can do, and you tell them to go ahead and join that, and you put a link for it on the confirmation page. And then the final thing you do is you tell them to watch the breakout videos, which I'll touch on in just a second. This is everything you say in the confirmation page video, and then below is, as I said, the breakout videos. So what breakout videos are essentially videos that are giving them the chance to spend more time with you. Not only that, but also you're answering a lot of the key questions that they have. As you know, anytime you take an action, anytime you buy a product, anytime you sign up for something, whether it's free or it's paid, you're gonna have questions. There's gonna be things you're not sure about. There's gonna be things that you know are on your mind, whether it's conscious or subconscious. And so your job here is to answer all of these questions, and again, create more urgency. Maybe make a video called, why now's the right time, and just make them really, really raw, and just spend time with them. As I said, tell them, what are we going to be learning on the webinar? That's another chance for you to tell them that. Is it worth me showing up live? Is there a recording? All these small questions are things that you want to answer for them. And again, always lean towards pushing them towards the webinar itself. How do I know this will work for me? Validate their decision. So 2 things you need from the breakout videos: urgency and validation. Remove all questions out of their mind and make it seem like a no-brainer. This is your chance to do that, and it's also your chance to spend more time with them. And then the final thing you can do on this confirmation page is below the breakout videos, you can give them more of your content. Again, what we're trying to do is take them from someone who just found out about you and doesn't know who you are to someone who is a loyal fan. And the only way to do that is to spend as much time with you as possible. And if this is a pressing enough issue that you're solving for them, and that's going to be dependent on your offer, then they're going to want to watch your content. And after all, they signed up to a live thing. Why would they not want to watch more stuff around the thing that they signed up for? So that's your job. More of your content, longer form tutorials of your YouTube channel, where you walk them through different ways to fix the problem that you're helping them fix, which they're going to be most likely to actually consume because they just signed up for something that's about this topic, and they're going to spend more time with you. Hopefully your content is good and they like your content, and then you now have a new fan, and you've taken this person who just found out about you through paid ads into someone who is basically a warm organic lead. That's the confirmation page, all right? So that's the 3rd thing that you can do. 4th thing that you can do, this is the 2nd, this is the 3rd. The 4th thing that you can do is The 4th thing that you need to do is SMS sequences. So always have SMS set up. If you don't, you are losing out on money. And this is very simple. These are just reminders to keep it very straightforward. You just want to send this, let's say 24 hours before, 4 hours before, live, and then even 15 minutes after you've started. Which brings me on to my final point for show-up rates, which is sending, I guess you could call them during, I don't even know what we would call this mechanism. I need to come up with a better name for it. During webinar promo, let's call it, which is basically sending an email and SMS after the webinar started. So when you're 15 to 20 minutes in, have an SMS or an email go out saying, hey, we're on the, say, hey, it's whoever's team. We're, whatever your name is. So it's John's team. We just started the class 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. It's not too late to join now. Don't miss out, whatever it is, something along those lines. We're just about to jump into the content section. We're just about to jump into the 3 pillars that whatever your webinar is called. And again, that is to fix their pain point, the thing that they want to learn. Just about to jump into this. It's not too late to join. Here's your custom link. Send them their custom webinar link. And you would be shocked at what this can do. I'll give you 2 examples. 2 weeks ago, we ran a webinar with this guy called Tim Campbell in London. He's a pretty big guy, mainstream TV guy in London, and we're doing his webinars for his career coaching offer. And he had a webinar where we had 470 people who had shown up, and then we sent out this email and SMS. And after 5 minutes of that email and SMS going out, we added an extra 100 people. That was the difference between a 20% show-up rate and a ballpark 30% show-up rate from the text and SMS that went 15 minutes after the thing went live. Another example is yesterday with a webinar that we did. We had 200 people. We sent out the SMS and the email, and then we added an extra 25 people just from that. That's a bump in that's like a 10% bump in show-up rate, relative show-up rate. So do not underestimate how important this is in terms of show-up rate. The final tidbit that I'll give you that we don't do that much, but we do when we have a webinar, let's say that is much higher cost to lead, or there's less actual people signed up, is you can have your setter personally reach out. And if you have a big setting team, you can do this anyway with no matter how many people you have. So you can have a setter personally reach out and say, hey, it's from John's team. Hey, it's from whatever. I saw that you signed up for this free thing. Can't wait to have you. Just wondering if you have any questions before it happens. Do you have your link, etc., etc. So you can have your setter reach out either by phone or by text, or both. The more you do, the best, the better it will be. And the psychology behind this is very simple. You need to understand the psychology psychology of service. So when you go to a really, really good hospitality, let's say business, whether it's a 5-star hotel or a 5-star, a Michelin star restaurant or whatever it is, the thing that they pride themselves on is service. Why is that? It's because people like to be taken care of. And when you're taken care of, when you leave a interaction with a business, having had a really nice experience, usually it's because of the people. You were surrounded by great people and people treated you well. And usually you're going to want to come back. It leaves you with a good taste in your mouth, and it makes you think more favorably of that business. If I go to a restaurant and the staff is super rude and they're just being assholes, I'm not going to want to go back and I'm not going to want to order more. But if I go to a place where the people are super welcoming, like there's this Lebanese place in London, I'm Lebanese as some of you may know, where the guy loves me, I love him, as one of his first customers. I brought him loads of people, and since the beginning he treats me like a king, like a brother. He comes in, he gives me free stuff, he's always so excited to see me, and it's made me a loyal customer. And I've gone for the last 2 years all the time. Why? Because I built a relationship with the business. I enjoyed going there, seeing him. It left a really good taste in my mouth, and it made me think, you know what? I want to get more people here. I want to bring my friends. I want to bring myself. And so in the info online marketing world, we sometimes forget that we are actually a real business that interacts with people just because it's online. Remember that these people still are people. They like to be pampered. They like to be treated well. So reach out to them. Make sure that they have everything they need. And that investment of like paying a set or whatever it is for that amount of time, or even a VA or whoever it is, as long as they can speak good English, it's going to make a massive difference in, at the very least, your brand, and at the very most, your show up rate and your sales. So it's something we do sometimes when the client wants to actually allocate budget towards this, but when they don't, we obviously don't. But it should not be underestimated, the power of doing this, especially when, if you have a VIP ticket, like you watch my videos, you know you should have a VIP ticket to liquidate some ad spend, especially reaching out to your VIPs at the very least. The least you can do is give them a phone call, give them a text. They've paid you some money, very, very much worth it. You shouldn't do it as the business owner, obviously, but have someone on your team do it. Be greatly worth it. So these are the 6 pillars of show up rates. We've been going for a bit now. I only meant to make this video about 7 minutes, but I want to give you guys as much value as possible. And now you have everything you need to smash it and get 30 to 40% show up rate. So if this sounds like a lot to implement, it is. So if you just want someone to do it for you, then obviously me and my team can be there to help you. Don't reach out to us if you're only making like 2, 3, 4 grand a month, unless you have a lot of budget to allocate to ads. But usually we work with businesses at the very least making 50K a month, and we help them scale and add their, get their first 100K a month, or add their next 100K a month to get to 200, 300, 400K a month. And we've even scaled some businesses close to the $1 million a month mark, to the $10 million a year run rate. So if you are one of the people that want to work with us, go ahead and click the link below, book a call with myself and my team, and we'll go ahead and see if we're a fit. If we are, we'll work with you. If not, we'll point you in the right direction. At the very least, it'll be a very valuable use of your time. But otherwise, go ahead and watch the rest of my videos, and you'll be able to learn more game on show up rates for webinars, call funnels, and just in general, making more money with your ads and marketing strategy. So speak to you soon, and see you on the next